Back in 2002, Cadillac made a third attempt, after two dismal failures, to compete in the compact luxury sedan market. It was called the CTS, and introduced a daring angular design, which Cadillac intended to be the first step in a new corporate look to take over its entire model line. A huge risk, which could have ended the brand had it failed to catch on. Although the CTS did turn away many older buyers, it brought in more younger buyers that Cadillac desperately needed, and took Cadillac into uncharted territory with the addition of the high-performance V-Series in 2004. This is the story of the Cadillac CTS. This is my old car.
A definite edge. Cadillac CTS. Breakthrough.
I've been wanting to do another Cadillac episode ever since June of 2022, when I started working as a product specialist at a Cadillac dealer near my home, north of Detroit, Michigan.
Oh, shit, Dan Marino, what's up, man? Back up, Dan. Hey, you're the truth.
Whatever you need, officers.
I struggled to decide on which Cadillac would be next, as many viewers have asked for episodes on classics, such as the Fleetwood, the DeVille, the Seville,
You lost your mind.
and of course, the most infamous Cadillac of them all, the Cimarron. My first Cadillac episode was on another failure, the Catera. Although the other Cadillac models are still being considered for future episodes, I decided here on the CTS, because out of all the Cadillac models, to me, this was a car that, when new, made me think Cadillac could actually be cool. The fact that my dad, who at the time was nearly 80 years old, hated it, and I liked it, was a good sign to me that Cadillac's stodgy image could be nearing its end.
Yo, Dan Marino should definitely buy this car. But not this one, because I'm going to f this one up, but he should definitely get one like this.
The CTS's predecessor, the Catera, a rebadged Opel built in Germany, was a disappointment soon after its launch in 1996. Despite the ads touting its German engineering, a statement which was clearly aimed at BMW and Mercedes buyers, those same ads were overshadowed with Cadillac's insistence on making the Catera appeal to a younger crowd, by including a cartoon duck named Ziggy. That name inspired by the tagline,
The caddy that zigs.
the Ziggy ads faced enough critical backlash that they were gone within the next 2 years, and the car itself was discontinued by 2001. The rest of Cadillac's lineup wasn't faring much better. However, behind the scenes, with the help of designers at Opel, Cadillac was working on a concept car that was a huge deviation from their current styling direction, so much so that there were many at that time, including myself, which figured that GM would never come close to producing a car with such edgy and frankly un-Cadillac styling. GM called it their new art and science design, which debuted with the Evoque concept. That concept would evolve into the Cadillac XLR, built on the then new C6 Corvette platform. But before the XLR hit markets in 2003, Cadillac had readied a more mainstream and higher volume option, a car which they hoped would make everyone forget all about the Catera. The new model would be called the CTS, the first car in their lineup in decades that would have an alphanumeric designation and not an actual name.
Resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
Earlier in Cadillac's history, they had various models in their series range, such as the Series 62, but that naming convention was phased out by the 1960s. And although some Cadillac models had names like SLS and STS in the 90s, they were considered trim designations on models such as the Seville. Meanwhile in Germany, BMW, Audi, and Mercedes had a long tradition of using alphanumeric names for their cars, which led Cadillac execs to believe Americans may think a similar alphanumeric name on a Cadillac would mean that it's a similar type of car to the German competition. However, CTS wasn't just a made-up combination of letters. Although it was never marketed as such, the letters CTS were intended to stand for Catera Touring Sedan. So in a way, the CTS could be considered the second generation Catera. Although the CTS's new Sigma platform, which was exclusive to Cadillac and not shared with any other GM vehicle, also shared nothing with the Opel V-body platform the Catera once had.
This thing isn't bad. And it's American.
Although it definitely shared a family resemblance with the Evoque concept, the shape and dimensions of the CTS were more mainstream, but still looked radical compared to the rest of Cadillac's lineup at the time, a lineup whose average buyer age was a bit older than they'd hoped.
You see, Cadillac realized its average owner was 112 years old.
To get the CTS some exposure to a younger audience, execs at GM offered 10 prototype CTS models to the producers of the movie The Matrix Reloaded. The inclusion of the CTS at the time was a risky, but ultimately a brilliant marketing move for Cadillac. The CTS wasn't the only new Cadillac in the movie, as the second generation Escalade, in its EXT pickup variant, also played a role. The But even before The Matrix Reloaded hit theaters, magazines such as Car and Driver were already getting car enthusiasts excited about the upcoming model, thanks to the hundreds of miles of testing being done on the famous Nürburgring racetrack in Germany. At the time, GM had its eyes set on the BMW 5 Series as the benchmark to beat, as the CTS was slightly longer than the current version of the 5 Series at the time, the E39. However, the CTS was still typically referred to as Cadillac's compact luxury sedan, since they didn't have a smaller model. The new angular design of the CTS was just the first of several new Cadillacs in the pipeline that would share the same basic look, such as the second-gen Escalade, the STS that replaced the Seville, and Cadillac's first crossover, the SRX. Even the DeVille model would later adopt it when it transitioned to the DTS, although its angular look was significantly toned down to not offend Cadillac's traditional full-size sedan buyers. Originally offered with a 3.2-liter V6, making 220 horsepower, by 2004, the CTS could be optioned with a 3.6-liter V6 that made 255 horsepower. These V6s were mounted longitudinally, thanks to the CTS's relatively long hood for its overall length. Although the typical buyer opted for a 5-speed automatic transmission, a 5-speed Catrag manual was also available, making it the first manual offered in a Cadillac since the 1988 Cimarron. Although the manual in the Cimarron was probably not intended to be a sportier option, but instead it was offered simply because the Chevy Cavalier Twin also had a manual. Other features were a fully independent suspension, as well as the option of a self-leveling rear suspension on the sport trim. The overall structure of the car was far stiffer than a typical Cadillac, which again was a big risk that could turn away buyers that still wanted the more floaty feel of Cadillacs of the past. The initial public response to the CTS was positive, resulting in sales of over 37,000 by the end of 2002 and close to 50,000 for 2003, about double what the Catera got in its first couple years. Sales would improve even more for 2004 thanks to the addition of the CTS V, the first of many Cadillac models that would bear the new high-performance V moniker. GM was well aware of how popular the M models were for BMW and the AMG models were for Mercedes-Benz, and believed that Cadillac could offer a competitive option. Their testing at the Nürburgring returned lap times that were as good or better than the BMW M3 or M5, and 0 to 60 times were under 5 seconds. This was thanks to its 5.7-liter LS6 V8, shared with a Corvette, that could reach 400 horsepower. Offering what was effectively a four-door Corvette was a huge deal back then, and unheard of for a Cadillac. Over the next few years, as the other Cadillac models transitioned to the same art and science design, the CTS was in need of a refresh, leading to the second-gen model being revealed at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit in January of 2007. The second gen was slightly longer and wider than the outgoing model, but the biggest change was the addition of a coupe and a wagon model. The coupe pushed the rear end higher than before, providing a more extreme wedge shape than the sedan. The wagon shape looked more like the sedan with a longer roof, but also included more dramatic tail lamps that stretched up to the roofline. For the CTS V model, the second gen's engine was upgraded to the Corvette ZR1's 6.2-liter supercharged V8, making 556 horsepower. Both the coupe and wagon would also be offered in the V-Series trim, although the V-Wagon wasn't a big seller, making it a rare and high-priced find today.
This is a f***ing station wagon. This shit is so fast.
The new look of the second-gen CTS helped sales start out strong, which helped keep it alive, considering the hardships GM was about to endure.
When you turn your car on, does it return the favor?
The 2008 recession helped speed up GM's path to bankruptcy and led to the lowest sales volume for the CTS up to that point, dropping below 40,000 in sales for 2009. By this point, GM divisions Saturn, Pontiac, Hummer, and Saab were all on the chopping block. All the Cadillac models, except one, managed to remain in production. That one that didn't make it was the Corvette-based XLR, which likely would have ended anyway due to lower than expected sales since its debut. Once GM emerged from bankruptcy, CTS sales picked up, but then began a slow decline year to year, thanks primarily because of what the CTS wasn't, an SUV or a crossover. Despite the drop in sales for the CTS, Cadillac continued to have faith in its compact sedans, so much so that in 2012 it introduced a smaller model called the ATS that would be a better competitor against smaller luxury sedans, such as the BMW 3 Series. The ATS took away some of the CTS sales, but not enough to stop the planned redesign of the CTS that was launched in 2013 for the 2014 model year. This also marked the CTS's move from the Sigma to GM's new Alpha platform, shared with the ATS, and for the first time, a model outside of Cadillac, the 6th generation Chevy Camaro. Sales of the CTS coupe and wagon model were never close to the sedan sales,
Hang on a minute.
leading those body styles to be dropped for the 3rd generation. CTS sales dropped below 20,000 for the first time in 2015 and never increased,
Well, how did you Well, I was down at the pits and I met a bloke hanging around and he said he was a drifter, so
with only around 6,000 sold in its final year of 2019.
You've just given your car away.
To a tramp.
Yeah.
Despite those low sales, GM still needed to offer a competitor to German compact sports sedans, so starting in 2020, the CTS and ATS were replaced with a CT5 and CT4, still on the Alpha platform. These cars used a revised naming convention that started with the CT6 full-size sedan in 2016 and the XT5 crossover in 2017, by having the last character of the name replaced with a number to help identify the car's ranking in the Cadillac lineup. But with Cadillac's plan to transition to all-electric vehicles by 2030, they are again reverting back to actual names, now all ending with the letters IQ, starting with the 2023 Cadillac Lyriq and the 2024 Celestiq, Cadillac's first $300,000 hand-built luxury sedan. This is the second reimagining of the Cadillac brand of the modern age, with the first being the introduction of the CTS in 2002. Thanks for watching.
Have you turned the traction control off?
Yes.
Have you ever done that in your life?
No.
If you like this video, click the like button and subscribe to my channel. If you once owned a car from the 80s to mid-2000s that you rarely see today and would like it featured in a future episode,
Oh, cock.
leave a reply in the comments or contact me at the email shown here. See you next time.
You can't drive in a straight line.